welcome everybody to today's masterclass, where I'm here with the talented young students of the Australian Youth Orchestra. Now, I've had the privilege of working together for them for this past week, the Sibelius Violin Concerto with conductor Simone Young. And it's been a really great time working with them in a group basis. And now tonight, I have the privilege to work together with them on a one-on-one basis. So tonight you will hear three talented students, violinists, who will be playing various repertoire. First we have Iona from Brisbane, who will be playing Elgar's Violin Sonata, the first movement. Please welcome Iona. great job, I have to say. This is actually a new sonata for me as well. And thanks to you, thank you for introducing me to it, actually. And because it's really a lovely, lovely piece. And I have to say that you play it really well. Your intonation is quite good. And there's some parts that maybe we could do a little bit of work on. How do you feel when you play? Is it a little bit nervous?
Yeah.
A little bit nervous?
Yeah.
Couldn't be because there are cameras around and everything. No, that anyone in the world could be watching us right now. No. So, you know, I have to say, I completely understand. I hate cameras as well, especially, you know, the thought always creeps in my mind. But, you know, just then after the performance, I always say, oh man, I wish I had a second chance. So here's your second chance. Why don't you try at the beginning again? And this time, you know, just, it's okay. You've already done it before. It's fine. You have this. You got this. You got this. All right. Let's try it. Let's try it. I think, so your sound, when you want it to, you know, get out there, it does. But then other parts, sometimes I lose you a little bit, or sometimes it becomes like a little bit, you you shy back in or something like that. I want you to just think about, you have to remember, you're always going to be performing for a much larger space, even larger than this, you know? So think about that and, you know, have that in mind, that it should reach the last person in the hall. So when you play, especially, you know, this first section, it's quite, shall we say, meat and potatoes kind of thing. It's like, I mean, you know, you need to gain like at least 30 kilos, and then, you know, you come out and then you just play this, you know, kind of like you look like Brahms and you play this, so you also need to grow a beard as well. But I mean, you know, this is really heavy stuff. I mean, it's beautiful, but it's also, it says resolute, with resolution, right? So when you come out and this is the first, but this is more, and then you unleash here. Right? So have that in mind, that you're aiming, you have a certain plan, right? With everything, we should always have a game plan about how we, you know, how the piece is structured, how we want to phrase, how we want to, I mean, I don't mean to plan out every single note, but you do need a certain plan, or at least maybe one or two different plans that you can have options for in the moment, however you feel. And then as you get more and more familiar with the piece, you have more and more options, and then you can, but there are always these options, right? It's never just, oh, you know, I mean, very seldomly do I ever think that I'm going to do something that I've never practiced before in the practice room, right? That's why we practice. So you should think about how you want to phrase this, and yeah, try that again, and remember here, more, so that you build towards this, right? All right. Okay, just right there. So I have to tell you about how sound is produced. Okay, so sound, for me, is three things. First one is bow speed. Second thing is bow, shall we say, weight. third thing is the location, right? So I think you've got the speed and the weight pretty good, but your sounding point location is a little, could be a little closer to the bridge. All right, just a little bit, a fraction. And how close you go to the bridge, that really, a hair's breadth can make a huge difference. So we don't want it scratchy, but I think it's a little loose right now. The sound is a little bit blah, 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 so it could be a little tighter. So let's try that. Okay, but not on the chord. So when you play, you never really crunch on the chord. You have to dive into that water. It's hard on the surface, right? When you dive into the strings. And it also depends which note you're playing. The higher up it goes, as you are on the fingerboard, the closer you can be to the bridge, right? So, just a tiny bit. So cut the difference and try again. Okay, now here, remember, this is if you have to crescendo, you have to give yourself space, right? So that was, can you go louder beyond that? Maybe not so much, right? So remember, da 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 da, and da 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 da. Right? Okay. Just remember, remember to really play a little bit closer to the bridge, just at least on the sforzando, right? It's that's the importance. Ya ba 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 ya ba 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 ba. Okay, right there. And try a bit more bow speed as well. So you can use a combination of the three. It's like combining colors. Those are your three primary colors for sound. Okay, so try a variety of them to see what works. No, so that doesn't work. But at least you tried. So then you think maybe the location is also. I find that violins, if they're not used to being played close to the bridge, it's hard to initially do it. But you can train them to kind of take a beating, so to speak. So if you, right, so you can slowly just, I would practice, this is what I do, so slow scales, and being as close to the bridge as you can with still a nice sound. So slow down the bow. And try that, and then it'll get you used to that. All right. So because a string, it's like you play it. It's the individual. You feel the individual. You should feel the individual hair, the little follicles of your bow, kind of gripping that string and feeling it oscillating. So you really need to be really sensitive towards that and know the limits of your instrument and what it can and what it can't do, right? But you also need to push it to the edge too, and to be able to know how to push it to the edge. So that's very important. So right there, again, at 1. A small tip that you can do, when you play on the E string, turn your violin over a bit because that way you'll get the angle of the bow on the string, the proper angle. Because if you're doing this, where does the alignment go? It kind of goes, you're trying to push sideways. But if you turn your instrument around, notice when I'm playing, where sometimes sometimes if you see other players too, they're like, they're doing this, a little bit of this, and you're like, wow, that back though, and it's like, what? But there's a reason why, which is to try and get that angle of that. So turn your violin a little bit more. So, yeah, come on, show me that back. Yeah, there you go. Okay, and now try it. Now try that part. Number 2. More. Just do the limbo a little bit more. Okay. Good. So you notice how on the G string it's always really, it's the right angle because of your shoulder rest. So when you play the E string, it'll help it as well. It'll help the sound get out there. So yep, right, continue, right at 3. This is like a softer part, right? I feel that that's the sound you want to make. But remember, just because it's softer doesn't mean you have to stop singing. So when keep moving that bow, okay? Whatever you do. It's like that, remember the 3 rules of that sound, the 3 different things you have to think about. When your bow gets a bit slow and then you're in the wrong part and then, it kind of drags the sound, it stops singing, the instrument stops singing. So make sure you don't kind of go below that speed limit or whatever it is, that limit. Just like there's an upper limit, there's also a lower limit too. All right, so right there at 3 again. That's better. And then move a little bit. Sorry, keep going, just remember. Right, if you play like this, it's like a damper sound. The sound is dampened. So make sure you always, right, to do that. Just start with. So in this section, just what are you thinking about? What does this mean to you?
Sort of a bit like a harp.
A harp?
Yeah.
So sort of a bit like a harp. But I mean, what kind of mood is it?
Peaceful.
Peaceful.
Yeah.
Okay. So I kind of think of like, that movie Up, where they like, when he thinks about his past, And you know, that's like the saddest first 5 minutes of any movie you'll ever see. And it's just like when they're like having like a great time and they're all together and it's just like... like just so loving and caring, you know, but in a way that's not rushed. So you want to have that kind of frame of mind that really, I mean, tranquilo, reflective is the word I would use. So, and when you play the long notes, don't get too aggravated, okay? And just keep that really smooth sound going. Okay, it sounds a little bit wobbly, like you're driving a car and you're just steering too far to the right, too far to the left. So don't autocorrect, like try to keep it smooth, okay? I know you want to play around with it, but think of playing around with it not note to note individually, but rather in groups. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It's like that. Okay, and remember here is the melody. So use a little more bow. Make sure your bow's like your paintbrush. You're the artist. And so just make sure that you've got that smooth brush going, okay? And so this, I mean, the piece, it's basically the same, but just, you know, with added recapitulation. It comes again at 14. So with this being said, the stuff we're saying here, you can work on that later. All right, let's get quickly. We've got one more minute to 11, big number 11. Okay, so that's pretty... Right? So try, you play that. Right there at 11, go on. Remember? Right, so think about it like this. You press down, right? But think about your violin pressing up. That way you suddenly, it's like, it won't be as kind of like, and then you suddenly, it'll free it up. Try it. Wow, that was really great. So let's just finish with that. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so next, for our next amazing violinist, we have Alex, who is from Sydney, and he will be playing the first movement until the end of the cadenza of the Khachaturian Violin Concerto. Please welcome Alex. So this is a piece that you rock out to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like, all right. So that being said, I think you could rock out a little harder in certain passages, especially in the beginning. Shall we just take that, for example? When you play the accents, I think the accents in this piece are the most crucial part of it. Without the accents, it's kind of just like just goes on. But it's the accents what makes it like. You gotta feel your like Rostropovich like like that. You know, you gotta have that like kind of your jowls moving, and then. I mean, like just something like that. So really, really get into it. Like, don't just play like, oh yeah, you know. I don't think there's really any saving in this concerto, so to speak. It's just go all out, go nuts all the way. That's the way I see it. So show us that from the beginning, that you really mean it. So I noticed you're not using a shoulder rest, which is bravo, by the way. Give it up for Alex for not using a shoulder rest. So, which is quite difficult, I must say, especially for the sound. Do you have something?
I have something.
Yeah, you have something there. Okay, it's like a little pad.
No, Isaac Stone pad.
Oh, okay. I heard they were called chicken somethings before, like by ladies that they used. No, anyway. So anyway, okay, you have to be careful because coming from someone who I now use a shoulder rest, a slightly modified one, but who didn't use a shoulder rest for quite a long time, you have to be aware that the back of the instrument really doesn't touch your shoulder, right? So it sits on your collarbone, and it just kind of you have to hold it up and make sure that you never kind of clamp onto it. Because as soon as you start clamping onto it, your sound's just going to be cut down by like 50%. Okay, so try it again. Lift that up. Make your little thing go a little closer to you if you can, or a little further down. Yeah, you reach in there. Yeah. And now you try. Okay. All right. Yeah. Is that higher? Just remember that the accent is on the, it's not the, because right now you're kind of, the E string pops out more than the double stop. Right? So make sure you're doing that. Something cool here would be like, for example, here's a little bit more, slightly more singing, right? So to make a contrast, it's not all the like just hard rocks going on. and come down a bit, and then come back up. All right. So that's how you stop it from give it variety, while at the same time still being able to give the appearance of going hard all the way. Okay. Come on. There we go. Make sure you crescendo here. There you go. Again. Okay, so you see how you get a little bit careful there as it gets a little bit, dangerous. Let's see if I can do this again. So make sure you keep going up, okay? All right, make sure that you just use your left hand. Can be careful, but if your whole body starts tightening up like that, the sound will get considerably smaller. So make sure that the ideal way to produce a big sound, and by big I don't mean like harsh, I mean like big in a way that's sonorous and carries, that has maximum vibrations going on, is to relax your body, right? So to just make sure that your muscles are relaxed, you're only using what's necessary to produce whatever it is you need to produce. I think the same goes for wind players too. I've heard that you guys actually push out. We push out with our stomachs as well in violin playing. So you can just, that's an excuse for a David Oistrakh belly as well, right? And make sure you lower your shoulders. Because I start seeing you do this a little bit, and your sound gets smaller and smaller when you do that, and when it gets more difficult. So try to keep that in mind, okay? Start from... Yeah, that's good. Excellent. And you can keep going? Sorry? Sure. Remember, this is a little smoky, okay? Here, wouldn't you say is your height, right? This is the height of your this, whatever this is, a myriad of colors, or just the height of your haziness. So make sure that you really let loose, and now is not the time to be playing strictly in rhythm, No, make sure you're... Right? And in the beginning is also really great. I like the sound you produce. It's really warm. I think it could be a little, at one step further, it could be a little bit lazier, so to speak. Could we try that? So... That's why they have the, all those slides. It's kind of like, a little bit like, like that, especially. It's like, you're doing the wave with your body or something like that, Do it with your sound, I mean. And so make sure you don't just play through it fast. Like, you kind of did which was a harder version. Make sure you... Don't worry, Kathy here will wait for you. By the way, everyone give it up for Kathy Sanders. And so Kathy here, when you have a great pianist like Kathy, she will wait for you, so you can afford to take the time to play around with the melody. So just start from the beginning again. Da, 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 da. You have to play towards everybody, right? It's beautiful, but it's no matter how beautiful it is, if other people can't hear the beauty, it's always going to remain within this. I mean, I'm standing here, and I have to say I can barely hear it, so make sure you sing, okay? All right, now, with that being said, let's skip a little bit to here. You have to have a little bit of breathlessness, a little bit of please, please, please will you buy me so many drinks? Please, please, like you have to think about how cheap you are. You're like a real, you're a real gypsy here. You have no money, okay? So you have no money, you need people to buy you drinks, okay? So... If you won't buy me drinks, I'll go buy myself. Right? So you have to have that kind of a feel, right? It's really, this concerto, what makes it so wonderful is its unpredictability. Contrasted, juxtaposed next to the kind of solid that kind of rhythm. So you have that in the beginning, and then you have this kind of just totally hazy, totally fluid, these melodies, these songs. So try it again, and remember, don't lift off too soon. So. Right? I think here, just you can make it a bit bigger. How do you make this more kind of grandiose, right? Because this is quite a grandiose section. You got a mini cadenza going on. You just kind of, you leave the orchestra behind and you go off into your own kind of bit of a, honestly, it's a bit of a tantrum, but a bit of a, whatever it is, a soliloquy of anguish. Don't play that too fast, okay? Because remember, you are going da 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 da, right? Triplets, and then it's like a written out ritardenda, right? So, and then also stringendo, not just sudden, not subito, right? So. Give me accents on every note. That's how you make it. You emphasize that passage. You need. Right? That's how you have to keep holding that back. Don't let it go. When it comes too easily, it's just, just like things that come too easily, we kind of take it for granted. We don't treasure them as much. Same with the rhythm, the sound. Make sure that you always, when you need to, in a moment of passion, don't let go of that tension. Keep holding it, and then, it'll be much more effective that way. Okay, we've got one more minute. We're going to skip to here. Make sure that you do a lot of more bow there, okay? That when you play that. And then here. That's like really like, like almost like a car horn, I mean, it's the double cry, the double anguish cry, okay, coming from your violin. You really need to make that happen there. So don't shy away, okay? Right there, can you just try that? The double stops, yeah? Yep. Okay. So you look pretty happy when you're playing that. Yeah. Maybe you need a little, maybe a little more anguish, a little more frustration. Right? Right there. Yeah, go. More bow, Alex. That's better. Keep going. Keep going. Now, wait. Now here. There we go. So, do you see how you don't let go until the end? You need to plan it out. How far, when do you decrescendo, right? You don't just decrescendo just because, you're getting tired or something like that. No, you need to find out where the phrase goes till. So, for example, that was so much more effective. And so if you use that and apply it to the rest of this movement, it'll be wonderful. So thank you so much. Yes. Good luck. And so now we have our final violinist for tonight's masterclass. His name is Roland, and he will be playing Prokofiev's Violin Sonata No. 2. Please welcome Roland. Very nicely done, Roland. I have to say that this is one of my favorite pieces, and you play it very well. So just a few things that I might add that might add to your overall performance. The first thing is that, and you might know this already, is that since it was originally written for flute, you might want to think about the sound not being so, sometimes it gets a little bit thin, especially up in the high E register. So if you can think about what I said earlier, turning that violin around, making sure that you're not too close to the bridge, not too far either, but maybe a little further away. Right now, I mean, you have to really find the balance where your instrument is most comfortable at. And that'll help with the sound, because right now, sometimes when it gets up there, it gets a little bit scratchy, which, you know, kind of, it's such a shame that it ruins such a nice performance. So make sure that, let's try from the beginning, actually, from the top again, and just think of that nice, more of a fluty kind of sound. So that, yeah, might want to tighten your bow just a little bit, and think of it like the flute sound is it reaches out, it's very singing. It has that singing tonal quality to it. So make sure you have that in your sound. So we try it. And then suddenly it's something different, you know? It's like, it's a dance that suddenly comes out of this fantasy in the beginning, all right? So because so much of Prokofiev's music is kind of fantasy, wishing for a better kind of life, I suppose, less oppressed by that Soviet regime, right? So you want to think of that in your playing, in your sound, before you've even started playing, right? All right, so could we try again from the beginning and just think of, I mean, Kathy does a very nice job of kind of your environment. She is your environment, and you're kind of the solo, you're the character in the environment, right? So you need to adhere to that and make sure that you're doing the right things, all right? To create the right mood. Okay, so could you just turn this violin around just a little bit, and then think about when you have that bow change, look at your bow, okay? Because when for example, Heifetz, they're always, you know, Heifetz looks at where his bow is at, not because he thinks his bow is pretty, but I think, you know, I'm sure Heifetz could play with his eyes closed if he wanted to. But he does it because he's watching where his bow location is, he's watching everything, he's watching his fingers. I mean, for someone like him to have to watch, I think, you know, I better glue my eyes to my bow, you know, so... Right, try that, just try watching it. Keep going. Okay, don't let your sound disappear, okay? They're over there. But that was so much better, by the way. So could you hear that difference? Yeah, absolutely. It was just, you didn't have any more kind of whiffy notes. Everything was right on there. So try to keep to that. I know you probably need the music, but you know, if you angle the music right in front of your violin in a certain way, you can still watch both at the same time. All right, so and then here at 1, it's kind of a little mini elevator. Well, a very kind of this elevator. Anyway, bad analogy. Let's continue. Yeah. Okay. Roland, I'm only getting this. Right? So make sure that for each note gets the same amount of bow, okay? Maybe this, you're right, the start of each 4 notes does get a little bit more, but make sure you don't neglect the other 3, okay? A little more bow on the other 3. That's better. Watch yours. Okay, that was not so good. But so you see, you make sure that you can hear. You make sure that every note has to speak, even if it's soft. It still has to speak. There's no such thing as, oh well, it's soft, so I guess no one has to hear it. Unfortunately, we do. So because we want to hear your beautiful sound, so make it happen, okay? So here. Okay, from that phrase. Also, another reason why you should turn your violin a little flatter is that when you cross strings to the E, you won't have so much to travel, right, with your right hand, and there's less chance of you. So because why do we have that sound? It's because we skim the top of the E string. So if you actually make sure that you hit it right, you won't have that sound, okay? So make sure that you control that. And it'll help you if you have the violin. I mean, if you start flat, like a table, you're not G string heavy, right? So make sure that it's flat. Oh, I just want to say that again. Why does everybody laugh? That's good. Okay, make sure you have enough bow on the first note, because you're doing this, you're choking it. And then we hear the rest. Make sure that you go, or maybe even change the bowing. But whatever you do, make sure the first note speaks as well. Okay? Very nice. I think a little color change you might consider doing is, it's kind of begins like a nice walk in the park, right? And you spot a flower, a pretty flower. So you look over there. And then you remember that you have something more pressing at hand. And then you remember again. Right? So you have to, each time, again, build it and a new phrase with a new beginning. So, because at big number 3, do you have the big numbers? Yeah, you kind of like slunk away. Don't, remember, you have to continue. It's the same character, same person throughout this whole kind of passage. It doesn't change character until at the military march at, right? So until then, you're the same person. Remember who you are. So right there, if you could, the same place. A walk in the park. Right? Oh, look over there. So beautiful. And then people. More. A burst of energy. And then quiet. Yes. When you turn this page, yeah, there you go. Again, here, Roland. Make sure that that's good. Make sure you don't forget, every note has to be there, especially in this military march, pardon. Take a retake if you have to. Don't, this is really hard to do. Just because you travel there doesn't mean you have to stay there, right? You have the freedom to use whatever bow color you wish to use with your paintbrush. So be an artist. So from big number 4, please. A little more bow, otherwise it's going to sound like you're scrubbing the floor. All right? Yeah, there we go. Okay, again. So you feel like maybe you feel like you're using enough bow, but there's a reason why during our Sibelius rehearsals I'm like, I'm trying so hard in the third movement. Because you actually have to use more bow than you think. So often we don't use enough bow. And maybe you can't hear it, but it's just not the same. So use a little more effort in the bow. Like, it might make you sweat a little bit, but it's okay. It'll be so much more effective musically. All right? So don't stop using more bow. Again. Good. Great. Retake. Retake. close. Okay, Roland, here's where you really have to, do that, strike that pose, when you do that. Okay, so, you do the... You really have to go, wah, like that, okay? So just really angle that violin. You're gonna need every bit of help you can get, every trick that you've ever known for that note, because it's just, it's so long. 3. I mean, short of taking a retake, which I guess you could do if you were, no, never mind. But I mean, you can do it without a retake, okay? So try it, and seriously, don't use too much bow on the chord. Hold, and once you hit that note, immediately use less bow and then use more bow, okay, towards the end. So you create that effect that you're using a lot of bow the whole time, okay? No, a bit like 2 bars before. Yeah.
I'll give that bit.
That was great. But remember, at the beginning of that note, also, you also have to use a lot of bow too. You have, right? You can't just go like and expect it to sound, right? Right there. The rhythm there is, I have to say, it's yum ba da da dum. Oh, no, actually you're right. I stand corrected, sorry. Dum ba da 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 dum ba da da. Okay, I guess I heard it in another recording where it was just completely different. It was like, I thought it was da 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 da. Anyway, but before, when you play this part, okay, so after section 4, it becomes like a kind of a battle between the very kind of fantasy, and this, right? So you have to make sure that you've got this thing going on. That then, and then here, remember the walk in the park, right? But now it's like surrounded by, demons and stuff, right? So and you're trying to get away from that, but you're trying to still come back to the park. That's what you kind of, that struggle has to be apparent. Okay, so we've got 30 more seconds here. And so how about we just try that part and then back to the recap, it's all the same. So
second bar of the key change?
Yep. That's great. So that is perfect, and if you have that in mind, and throughout the rest of the piece, then remember it becomes reminiscent, reflective when the theme comes back here. Right? It's not exactly the same, so don't make it stronger or anything like that. Right? It's kind of a reflection. It's a mini rebirth, so to speak. And then at the very end, make sure that you're strong enough, that it is an ending, all right? And then hold that D until she has her yum bum ba da yum bum bum, okay? Make sure you hold that D. And then everything else is perfect. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And so that concludes our masterclass for today. If you enjoyed what you heard, which I certainly did, and you would like to hear more, please join us for a live broadcast on this Friday, July 18th, where the Australian Youth Orchestra and I and Simone Young will be performing works by Tchaikovsky and Sibelius, and among others. So, so please tune in to YouTube, probably the same channel, and we will have a blast and we'll show you what Australia is made out of. Yeah! No, so